May 15th.
Sorry we're late.
Yeah, sorry we're late.
Or there's really no reason to it other than that we were probably just talking.
Yeah, I'm at the Hampton Inn on 280 at the Mountain Brook. And I tell you, folks, if you're ever traveling through here, Miss Vivian Glover, she'll take care of you. This is a great place to stay. Miss Vivian. I
love Hampton.
Yeah, Miss Vivian's godson, Daryl Williams, played football at Auburn, was a 3-year starter at linebacker out of Hoover High School.
I just like the name Vivian.
I do too. I love it.
You hanging out with Paul Feinbaum yesterday?
Yeah, we got to talk to Paul Feinbaum and John Talty, the new senior college football writer at CBS. John will be on the show with us tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
We have the round table with Frank and Doug and Brad. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Paul Feinbaum in the process of moving back from Charlotte to Birmingham. So he's putting TVs together and he's having a ball. And he was out there interviewing everybody that's anybody in the SEC and college athletics at that Regions Pro-Am yesterday. Wil Gunter should join us in just a moment. But before we do that, take a picture with your phone of the QR code on there. We're on X, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, 7 channels simultaneously every morning, Monday through Friday. And look, Brendan.
Who am I impersonating?
Go Aggies. I'm not sure what's going on there, but those cheerleaders, I can't understand them. I'm gonna get a cheerleader from P&M to tell us what's going on with those cheers because you got to know the code.
They go to fish school the week before they're freshmen.
Yeah, and they learn it because that's a proud fan base, man. They pump a lot of money.
Signs. We should get signs.
Yeah, Casey.
We could do baseball signs where shoulders the indicator.
Yeah,
and then
Casey Goodjohn is listening right now. He just sent me a picture. He's stuck in the mud with the city tires on his truck. That's a mistake you don't make in the Mississippi Delta. That mud will suck you in like quicksand. Hey, we've also got Coach Butch Thompson from Auburn going to check in the second half hour. Chris Lee of Southeastern 16. So going to cover a lot of ground today. Wil Gunter signing in as we speak.
Katsu.
Do what?
Katsu and cotton.
Yeah, well, we cover the SEC like kudzu and cotton. Y'all all know if you live in the South what kudzu is. It's like ivy, but it just takes over wherever you are. But we're going to cover a lot. We had Wil Gunter back on again today. He had some technical issues yesterday, covering South Carolina and some SEC football we're going to get into. And Brendan, while he's coming in, the Florida situation, that they're getting a lot of momentum, and you don't want to get fooled and pulled in, but I don't think this is a fool's rally. I think the roster has gotten better, but DJ Lagway, I'm just going to say it. My prediction is he's good to go. And the doctors, I'm not one of them. I certainly don't talk to him, but he's an impact player.
You think impact player? I think there's got to be level up for
that's
you're it.
Yeah, he's it. So the SEC this year, you talk about the quarterbacks: Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, DJ Lagway. I think Auburn. I think Freeze has a confidence that I haven't seen since he was at Ole Miss, and that's in the quarterback position with Jackson Arnold, who transferred from Oklahoma. I think if you don't have a quarterback, you're stuck in your driveway. You're not getting to work. You're having to bum a ride from a friend or take the bus. And there's schools that don't have quarterbacks. If you think you can just wing it, it ain't going to happen. And everybody wants to criticize quarterbacks and say, well, he's just a game manager. Well, hell, they all are. Here's a manager from over in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Let's do it again today with Wil Gunter. Probably been up since God only knows, way before the sun got up, because you do a show for 2 or 3 hours in the morning. But we had some great conversation going yesterday, and then the technical gremlins got hold of you, or as they say in the country, got a hold of you. There's a T in there somewhere. But how you doing, man?
I never like to use my phone. I had to use it yesterday to try and join you, and I've had some issues. I think I told you, I forget. My son tore his ACL playing basketball. He was 13.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get him ready for surgery. So yeah, I
Yeah.
apologize. I've
No.
kind of been a
Listen, I
crazy
got
period.
4 kids. They come first.
Yeah.
When's the surgery? Next week?
We're going Monday. Monday we go. He finished up rehab, so we go Monday to
Okay.
schedule the surgery and hopefully get it done before the end of May is the
Okay.
plan. So,
Gotcha. That'll be big. Will, going back to South Carolina yesterday, Shane Beamer, he's just he's one of the more likable coaches around, but he's got a fuse. He's an intense guy. I mean, he grew up with a dad, Frank Beamer. He talked about pulling the cables when he was a kid on the sidelines. He's been with Steve Spurrier. He's been at Oklahoma. He's got a great pedigree is what he's got. Let's talk about expectations at South Carolina. You got a fan base that's always there. 80,000 plus Williams-Brice Stadium. Last year, you were real close. I wish y'all were still playing Georgia during the regular season. Well, you do, but I'm saying, as Blind Squirrel Sports put that up there, Clemson, Georgia, South Carolina, those are some damn good rivalries.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Probably, for South Carolina, we view it a little bit differently than I think how Georgia and Tennessee and other teams view it. Um, Obviously, Georgia's got Auburn, Georgia's got Florida, um, uh, Georgia's got Tennessee. I mean, South Carolina's probably down the list. I mean, Georgia probably consider Clemson more of a rival than South Carolina because of some of the games that they've played. But South Carolina the South Carolina fan base really likes that game, and that'll be back on the schedule probably next year. I'm guessing the SEC they'll rotate the teams that you did not play the last 2 years back on.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the one that had become a little bit of a rivalry, a legitimate rivalry, was South Carolina and Tennessee. This century, these games have been incredible. Steve Spurrier really changed the dynamics of that rivalry. Lou Holtz was so close, but Steve Spurrier really changed it. And those games, I know the last two had kind of been blowouts, but you had the 63-38 victory here in Columbia that South Carolina won, and Tennessee was a top 5 team. And then you also, obviously, South Carolina went the next year up there and got kind of blown out 31-14, I think was the final. But there had been some really, really good competitive games in that series. And I think that might have been the one that I would have pointed to and been like, make that more of the rivalry than Georgia, even though there's a longer history and tradition with Georgia.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a game where in an SEC contest where an offense scored a touchdown like South Carolina did against Tennessee in 2022 on every possession except the end of the first half when they ran out of clock. The last time I saw that, 1979, Alabama 66, Vanderbilt 3. EJ Jr. was a defensive end out of Nashville Pearl Cone on that team. Stedman Shealy, the quarterback. Major Ogilvy was in his 4th or 5th year of his 11-year career at Alabama, but that was dominance. Lenore Sellers, Ellis Johnson talks a lot about him. Roman Harper just raves about him. He can complete passes on the way down. Talk about where he's from and kind of how he got here.
Yeah, I mean, he's from Florence, so just down the road. He's got an interesting backstory. He committed originally to Virginia, I think somewhere in his junior year, and
Okay.
the offensive coordinator from Virginia went to Syracuse, so he switched his commitment to Syracuse. South Carolina was actually after Dylan Lonigan, who went to Alabama, and South Carolina really thought they might get Dylan Lonigan. I think Lonigan just transferred too. Actually, I feel like I saw that. I might be wrong. But anyway, South Carolina was really after him, and after missing on Dylan Lonigan, they kind of circled back to Lenora Sellers, and it was actually Marcus Satterfield, the previous offensive coordinator, who was the guy that recruited him and got his commitment, and then they had to hold on to him when there was a switch to Dow Loggins, who's now gone. But he got it. The thing with Lenoris is he got injured his junior year, had a pretty significant high school injury, and caused him to miss the year, and he didn't really go to camps going into his senior year. I do a lot of stuff with 24/7 Sports and some of the guys at On3. I think there's a general kind of consensus. He could have been considered a 5-star prospect had he gone to the proper camps to be evaluated by the national analysts. He never really did that, and probably would have had more offers. So, that's a situation where kind of like South Carolina just had Nick Eamon-Morey drafted in the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
That was a kind of a freak athlete that didn't go to a lot of camps, didn't get seen a whole lot, and South Carolina was able to kind of get him under the radar.
Well, and you talk about Dylan Lonigan. Alabama people last year were raving about him, the folks that we have that cover the Tide. So, I mean, but the guys are not going to stick around. the defensive front last year, South Carolina had 3 really good ones. And the portal helps. I'm starting to see a trend in the SEC. Schools are not really, I don't think Alabama, Kalen DeBoer said yesterday, didn't have a single significant transfer out in the spring portal. Now, the December portal is another thing, but looks to me like South Carolina and Shane Beamer, this is what, his 5th year?
No, yeah. This is Shane Beamer's 5th year, right? I don't know why that confused me for a second. We were talking about that this morning, but yeah, this is Beamer's 5th year, and really, he's probably in the best place any coach has been for a South Carolina coach going into his 5th year. When you look at what he's done,
yeah. So, and you think about the league, the competition, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. I'm not doing East-West, but you just default to doing that because it's right there in your backyard. Looking at the schedule this year, give me a couple of the games that are going to keep you up at night if you're the South Carolina coaches. I'm sure they all do, but 2 in particular.
well, honestly, and now I'm going to just look at where they are at on the schedule because they open with Virginia Tech. We now know that that'll be that Sunday game in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's going to be a 3:00 game, so it'll lead us into Notre Dame and Miami. But to me, the bigger question, what you're asking is, how does South Carolina handle expectations?
Yeah.
Right. And I say that to kind of go to the next point, like, don't come out of the gate and blow that Virginia Tech game. There was a lot of excitement, a lot of hype about the North Carolina game 2 years ago in Charlotte. Don't come out of the gate. So when you ask that question, I don't think I would typically say Virginia Tech, but I have to say Virginia Tech because that's the season opener. You're going to be the only game on in that time frame. It's not like you're playing it Saturday at noon or 3:30 when there's a bunch of other games. You're playing, on a Sunday. You're the only game. All the Lenore Sellers is going to be getting all this attention. He's going to get all this love. Shane Beamer is going to get all this love. They're going to be probably a top 15 team, maybe even close to number 10. So my point on that is, even though probably Virginia Tech is not one like for, say, LSU. LSU is a huge game. Clemson's going to be a massive game for a chance to win 2 in a row over them. Mississippi, you got to go there. Alabama and Oklahoma, come here. There's I think that the 2 that you look at that are must wins, if you will. You got to win that Virginia Tech game. You got to showcase who you are. Again, I go to the reason I really pointed that one is, again, because you're going to be the only college football game in that time slot. Everybody's going to be looking at that Sunday. Okay, who is this? Oh, I've heard about this Lenore Sellers. Who is this guy? Let me watch him and see what all the hype is about. So I think there's that one. And then frankly, I think you look probably you can go 2 more that are probably realistic. And it's right there. That's the Missouri game on the 20th and the Kentucky game. South Carolina has kind of reestablished dominance over Kentucky. So that's good.
Yeah.
You've gone last year. They really thumped them. The Missouri, Eli Drinkowitz has been a massive bugaboo for South Carolina, even when he was at Appalachian State and came here and beat them. South Carolina finally got over the Drinkowitz hump last year. Now you got to go out there. It's early in the season. They're still going to try to be figuring out their quarterback situation. There's a lot there for that game. And I think those are the 2, because honestly, to also go to that point, you beat Virginia Tech, you beat Kentucky, you got Vanderbilt and South Carolina State in there as well. But you beat Kentucky, you beat Missouri. You're 5-0 going into a bye week on October 4th before that one that y'all just highlighted, the LSU game, and that could be a monstrous game on October 11th. Well,
and the emotional part of Virginia Tech, I mean, Frank Beamer, who's he going to be pulling for in that game? That's going to be that's a good storyline right there, because Shane growing up with his dad, the legendary coach at Virginia Tech. So that's a cool storyline. But that game at Ole Miss, Ole Miss last year lost to Kentucky at home and had a must win for their season. They got it in Columbia. But the LSU game, that one is one that I think South Carolina wants back, as the Alabama game. See, those 2 games right there, you're 11-1. Now, you don't know necessarily, had you won those games, you may have been sluggish the next week, but those are 2 that you had leads in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, the LSU game, obviously everybody here talks about the officiating and the pick 6. What could have been in that game if they get that. People forget South Carolina still had to get a stop, didn't do that. Obviously officiating hurt them, but certainly that's one that they went back. Alabama, I was there in Tuscaloosa that day. That was a shock. That was also coming a week after South Carolina had gotten just blown out of the field, just didn't look prepared against Mississippi. and they came back. But that was also, as you said, things change and evolve. That was really a game that Shane Beamer points to that rallied that group, that they saw who they could be. They knew that they lost that game, that Alabama didn't beat them. And it really is, I think, what propelled them on to that 6-game win streak at the end of the season.
And what you did to A&M last year, that was a serious woodshed moment. And that reminds me of when Spurrier was at South Carolina, the game against, I think it was maybe Arkansas, had a good team. And Lattimore had like 38 or 40 carries for 1,000,000 yards. I mean, that A&M game really stands out.
Well, it stands out because of what they did in the second half. And that was really the coming out party for Lenore Sellers because of that game. A&M had a actually pretty good defensive game plan. They just didn't know exactly that Lenore Sellers could escape that much. If you go back to that game, I think it was something crazy, like he got hit in the backfield 13 times and basically didn't take a sack. It was some kind of wild stat, and he broke Texas A&M in the second half, and South Carolina's defense really got going. The crowd really got into it. Things kind of evolved and changed. So, with all that being said, that was a game that I think kind of showed the country who Lenore Sellers is, and then led into the Missouri game the following week or 2 weeks later when, again, he was able to work his magic and pull that game out late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and Will, a couple of more minutes before you go. I know you've got a big day ahead of you. Butch Thompson from Auburn is going to be on here in a couple of minutes, and Chris Lee from Southeastern 16 talking some baseball. I look at South Carolina baseball. I mean, come on, back-to-back national champions, and it's the first year of Paul Maneri, but kind of give us a state of the program update, because there's a ton of interest in college baseball here in the South, especially in what they call Braves country.
Well, it's not good here. It's not good. It's not good. It's really going to be. We talked about it this morning. I will say the good part is last night on the SEC Network they had the In Spirit documentary, which was a great documentary. I watched it. Might have shed a tear or two, but just going back to some of the storylines. But I think it's also coming on at the wrong time because you got a fan base who just look. I said it this morning. This fan base, football has been average. Basketball has been below average for the majority of the time. Baseball has been the sport that this team fan base has hung their hat on, right?
Yeah.
And baseball is what it is. You not only, even going back to Bobby Richardson and the College World Series in 1975 and all the things they've done. June Raines was a good coach here, and then Ray Tanner comes in and does all these great things. And this is a historically bad season. This is going to be the worst season that they've ever had, and people are not happy about this. It's going to be an interesting next 3 weeks to see what the new athletic director, Jeremiah Donati, does. What is his vision? Paul Maneri is 66, 67 years old. That's not ancient in today's game. But the question is, you have to do so much. You have to fundraise. You got to legitimately get out and meet boosters and talk to them. You got to recruit. You got to hit the transfer portal. There's a million things. Is his heart into it? Like he said, he came here to win. He wasn't coming to rebuild a program, and they're in full-blown rebuild status now.
Yeah, it is. Well, tell people how they can follow you. Great stuff as always, and look forward to getting you back on. Hopefully you can join us next Tuesday.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter at Wil, Wil Gunter, Gunter. And then always you can listen, go to our website, 1075thegame.com. That's probably the easiest way to listen to us. Obviously we're on here in Columbia and Florence or Myrtle Beach, but you can always just listen via our app, 1075 The Game.
Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox. I love it. Hey, take care.
Take care, y'all.
All right, let's go to another one. He talks about the reality of being a college baseball coach in today's world. Coach Butch Thompson, he lays bricks, he fundraises, and he's right. Coach, your job is also the fulfillment of a vision. You got a little civil engineering, like our friend Maury Gaston, mechanical engineering. You laid out a plan several years ago on this show. You talked about it, then you went out and your team made it happen. Man, welcome to the show. Got a big series in Oxford. I'm in Birmingham, had to come down yesterday from Memphis. Going to head back tomorrow. What time is the game tomorrow night in Oxford?
Yeah, tonight, Thursday night will be 6:30. The whole league plays Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Series, the last, weekend of regular season in advance of the SEC tournament. But we're 6:30 tonight, 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
Okay.
I assume some major broadcast of TVs happening with that 7 o'clock start, and then 1:30 on Saturday.
Okay. I'm going to get to one of those. If depends on what time I get out of Birmingham tomorrow. Swayze Field, that's going to be a wild environment tomorrow. And you love this stuff. You were born and raised in Mississippi, Coontail to be precise, you told us. Watching this team this year, and we got a big SEC audience, a lot of Gators watching, and we talked about, I think they started off, you call him Sully, Kevin O'Sullivan, 1-10, 1-11. It's over. Those guys never give up. You start off, you're one of the best closing teams, and you brought in some guys in the portal. But I think of Ike Irish, man, and he's not from Alabama or Mississippi. He's from Michigan. But let's talk about the makeup of this team, and then Chris Lee will be on with us in a second from Southeastern 16. He is a huge fan of yours and is I guess is an avid a baseball guy as there is in the SEC. And Mitch Davis, one of our young guys who's living in Starkville now or New Albany. This is going to be a great conversation. But kind of talk about your team and how y'all got where you are right now.
Well, thanks for having us, War Eagle, and appreciate you having me on, Rob. Always. It's been a journey and it's not over. It's not near time for reflection. Yeah. There's so much that we're in the middle of right now. And I heard, the guy giving an account of South Carolina, just one of our most storied programs that's made the SEC so great. I look at the recent history of your last 5 national champions coming from this league, and even dating back to South Carolina going back to back, and it's been different teams. So this league is second to none, and it's proved it again this year to this point. It's been amazing. I look at my own program of, you talk about Sully starting 1-11 and absolutely the run they've made here this second half of conference play. We were last in the league last year, coming off of hosting back-to-back regionals. And man, we're fighting and clawing, and nothing's settled yet in this last weekend because 14 teams in our league are fighting for positioning or their lives or anywhere in between this last regular season series, which I think makes it great for the fans. It makes it great for you guys and the popularity of it, but we are all trying to position the best we can. So there's still a lot of work to do, but I know our program's back in a regional. So I think in this new world, you can absolutely, it's a fine line of being right above the watermark or just below it, and have a good club and have good players. That's how competitive it's become. And, so I'm hoping we're hosting a regional 3 of the last 4 years, which our program's never done. I believe that can happen. But sitting here in Oxford on the road in the SEC, man, you can't count any chickens before they hatch.
No. Well, here's a guy who made a comment, Chris Lee up in Nashville. If you thought basketball was competitive and good, baseball is way better. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. And Butch, good luck to you in Oxford this weekend. That'll be a great series.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you again, Chris.
Yeah, likewise.
Chris, from your perspective, you look around this league, the commitment everywhere you go, it's there, and it just makes you love baseball, and I think it annuitizes the future of Major League Baseball because you always talk, Coach, about how many SEC players are on Major League rosters. But Chris, kind of jump in here, and I know you have questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the last weekend. I'm looking forward to being in Hoover for a couple of days next week. And I just always, as a baseball guy, I enjoy just going out and just watching the talent. I mean, the who wins and who loses aside, you get to see God knows how many major leaguers when you're down there. If you just enjoy watching baseball and don't care who wins, it's fun to watch. And I mean, the arm talent in this league, and Butch would know better than anybody. I just think I'm amazed. In a day when, it's hard to find guys to go 5 innings, we're seeing guys go 6, 7, 8, sometimes once in a blue moon, throw a complete game. The elite arm talent in this league is a lot of fun to watch. I'm rambling a little bit, but man, when you get me started on baseball this time of the year, the passion just kind of comes out, and I think this is going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Rob, I'll give an account real quick to the point. This opening day Major League season, there were 88 former SEC baseball players on opening day Major League rosters. So again, and I think that's 2025 ahead of the next power conference, which there's great baseball all over this country. I'm definitely not diminishing that, but to have 88 former SEC baseball players on opening day major league rosters, it's significant. When you start talking about just over 700 players, on every club.
Coach, I don't think it was but 2, maybe 3 years ago, and I believe you said at that time there were 48 SEC players. Now it's up in the 80s. That if that doesn't tell you that that we've struck gold in this league, nothing will.
And to Chris's point, you're sitting here. If you come to the SEC tournament, which all 16 teams are coming this year in a new format, it's single elimination, just like the SEC basketball tournament was and is, you're seeing future major league ball players all over that deal. And that's what makes me think to bring up the point, because Chris is right. Just 2-3 years ago, you had, Paul Skeens sitting there.
Yeah.
Not only was he in the major leagues the very next year, I mean, he started the All-Star game, for just, it's insane. And you see it year over year in this SEC tournament, a father, a family, it brings their boys out, their daughters out, just, brings their kids, high school players, everybody that comes and makes that trek, that they're seeing some future stars running around that baseball field for a week.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, and I think that's the part I can't wait to watch is just, the memories of the guys that do stuff in Hoover. And, you like Butch said, you'll see them in all-star games one year. And I think that, to me, too, just so many good college players, too, who may not make it to that point. But I think the other thing I enjoy watching in post is like how the defenses get so much better through the year. Like I always said, if you want to really fall in love with college baseball, don't watch it in February where people's fingers are frozen and players aren't stretched out. But watch the tournament baseball when you see amazing fielding plays in Hoover and in the regionals, and that's when it gets to be really good. And that's what's on top of us.
Yeah, Coach, looking at this league, watched Florida last Friday night out in Austin against Texas, and you're like, every time you go out, anything can happen. Anything's a possibility. The portal there's nothing we can do about it. It's what it is. But building a culture and the staff that you have on your team, what about the resilience of these kids? And I mean, mine are a little bit older, 24 and above, but the 18 to 23-year-olds, kind of give us a progress report on what you see about the guys on your team, how tough they are, and around the league.
Yeah, I think we're the most connected team in America, and we had to be. We had to have a proper response coming from last year. I give, Ike Irish, just not only is he a great player, he's become a great leader 3 years in this program, and now he's leading. He didn't blink, he didn't go anywhere, and he decided to double down for his program. Cooper McMurray, our first baseman, Derek Fabian, our shortstop. Those guys started, they went out and they dug up and tilled the ground in August, understanding how important culture is. And when you do that, you don't get an immediate feedback or, the corn's not up the next day. Right now, this time of year is where that stuff has a chance to harvest. We are seeing that harvest because of that investment in August. You just can't wake up in the middle of the season or 30, 40 games into this and say, hey, we want our culture to be good. And because in this league, you know what, culture's it's not going to just win you ball games. Culture is going to keep you when you're under the bus to be able to get out from underneath it and get back driving at some point. That's what culture does in this league. It does not guarantee you ultimate success. It helps you when everybody keeps saying it never ends. That's kind of our mantra this year when you're just waving that flag. Instead of it never ends being something that just takes all your energy and creates anxiety and makes you fatigued and makes you want to quit. It allows you with a good culture when somebody says it never ends, you can follow that up by saying, thank God, this is awesome. We get to play baseball. We get to absolutely, for us, this is our 5th SEC Road Series. All 5 have been ranked, with 3 of those being in the top 5 in the country, including number 1. it allows us to what an amazing opportunity. So I think those three guys and others, of course, and a team coming together with a lot of new players. We have some we have some of the best freshmen in America, and those leaders have gotten those guys started in August, and we're starting to see some of that harvest. And Chris, to this point about defense, you can just start seeing the team. I heard Dave Van Horn say this to his ball club in the outfield after a ball game a couple of weeks ago. He's like, man, you know what's supposed to happen this time of year is the cream's supposed to rise to the top. And you can start seeing it in these teams that have confidence. You can start seeing it in their at-bats, how they move around, how they play that defense, how they get light on their toes, and they take those calculated risks. And you're like, oh, my gosh, how do they do that?
Yeah.
That's getting to a good place of autopilot that good teams and teams, when the cream rises to the top. And you know what? We'll have a lot of those teams in Hoover next week. And that's the thing going through this 10 weeks of SEC play that's, I think, been the benefit in recent history is that you're prepared for anything. You will not see anything marching forward in the postseason that you hadn't already seen. Now, you can see great teams. You can absolutely see hot teams, etc., but you will not see more than what you have been trained to do in those 10 regular season super regionals that you just played.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Butch a question because I look at all the rosters and how they're composed. And one thing I think about your team that gets underrated, we talked about defense. You guys don't give up a lot of unearned runs. People don't look at that, but you just don't. The other thing that stands out, and you, I don't know, I watch your teams year to year. You are as good as anybody in terms of things that you can't quantify that show up because you talked about chemistry. Your teams are usually, your really good ones are playing their best ball this time of year. And I think what shows up this time of year really is pitching. And I look, you've got so many guys that you can use. You got a dude on Friday nights in Sam Dutton who's old. And then I look at your guys, not only they're guys that have pitched a lot of ball, but they pitched a lot of ball for you. And you might have more of them than anybody in the league. Myers, Tilley, Watts, Carlson, Armstrong, Griffin Graves. Like how important is that this time of year? Guys they're good chemistry guys, but also guys that you know what you can do and you know exactly where you can trust them because you've seen them pitch for years in every spot imaginable.
Yeah, and we know basically when you finish at the bottom of the league that there's something really off or not performing, and it was our pitching. Yeah. Getting Sam Dutton, even Cade Fisher had been starting for us most of the year from Florida. Those two older, experienced guys that have been to Omaha, played for national championships. That's important. That's an ingredient. That was a nice piece to add. A Christian Chatterton, a freshman, that just absolutely, starts a game a couple of weeks ago at Tennessee, a top 10 team, and gets you in the ball game and puts up zeros as long as we kept him in there. Tilley is a guy that we've second year in the program, so we brought him out of high school, raised him up a little bit. Now in his second year, he's doing good work. So it's from a lot of different areas that we're doing this. And I'm still not sure that all these stars you talk about, I still don't know how we stack up there.
Yeah.
But what we have is more guys committed to chopping this thing up and doing their job when they're asked to. And we've been able to pass the baton well. And I said we're a connected team. The second piece is the defensive posture is just good. The ball hadn't gone to the backstop with our catcher, and we've got a freshman catching that. Who does that in this league? I haven't done that very often. All four infielders are amazing. Fabian and Guevara on the left side of the infield is tremendous, whether it's Cade Ballou or Bristol Carter in center field. So right up the pipe where you want to be good traditionally. And then the left side, and then Ike Irish, you got a top 15 pick in the outfield. And Cooper McMurray's a third-year starter at first base. And Chris Rembert, our freshman phenom that's swinging that bat, he's grown at second base because he's got a coach right next to him in Fabian that just coaches him, directs him, does all these things. So we've been phenomenal there. But all these pieces, left-handed, right-handed, Sam Dutton's the only guy that you feel like can run out and get you that 6 or 7 innings like you were talking about, Chris. So the rest of us, give me what you got, 1 inning at a time. You're going to have a teammate come in and either bail you out or get you going. and piece this thing together. So it's taken 8 or 10 pieces for us to get through these weekends, but everybody's understood their role. You know, when you get punched in the mouth a little bit and we say, come in this program, like the first thing we say, it's not about you. You'll get your glory if we can make this not about us right now. Let's get back to winning baseball games. And what does that look like? What does that plan look like? And then let's brief on it like crazy. Let's go out and execute, and then let's debrief, and then we'll go back out, execute again, back and forth. It's just, you know, it's like a fighter pilot. That's how they train. They plan. They got a mission objective. This is our objective, to win ball games. It can't be about me. It has to be about the staff. These guys have done an amazing job. But, you know, sometimes tough times create strong men. Sometimes easy times create soft men. We've gone through one of those journeys, absolutely held it together because of culture. I think culture has absolutely helped us with our program. And then these guys have just done an amazing job. I tip my hat to the players of this team. They've been, in a world where we throw all these daggers at all this stuff, these guys have absolutely submitted to one another to try to win ball games. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Coach, your pitching seems to be getting better, specifically in SEC play. I don't know what you guys did against Tennessee, a 2.39 ERA, something like that as Cume. But what adjustments have you guys made along the way here, if anything specific, or is it just sort of, you know, guys hitting their stride, you know, that kind of thing? I'm just curious if you guys have a strategy there that significantly changed, made things a little better.
You know, I've been in the league 24 years. That's actually an amazing question because there's a real answer to it. And, you know, I've been amazed and blessed when I'm moving into the head coach realm and the pitching coach. We've always had our pitchers call their own game. And we didn't do that last year. You know, we had a new pitching coach who was phenomenal. We brought in Everett Teaford, who was the minor league pitching coordinator for Chicago White Sox at the time, comes in and takes over our pitching. You know, we've had some good ones with like Tim Hudson for 3 years, et cetera.
Oh, no way.
Our guys have always run their own game. And he thought to get comfortable and do his job, he needed to be able to do that. And then at the end of last year, I was like, man, I love you. I absolutely put my arms around you. I believe in. He's a phenomenal coach. And I got to get back to some of those basics of our guys running their own show, calling their own game. We've had 16 major league pitchers the last 10 years off of this concept. So we got to get back to it. So there's no passing of the buck here. The buck stops with me every time. I protect the players. I have the final decision, no matter if I let guys run their own show or if I let a coach, absolutely have total autonomy with his position. At the end of the day, I've allowed that. Those are the things that I've made a decision. So these guys are running their own show. We had to take an entire fall to teach them how to do that. We have a freshman catcher calling the games now, but I got it back to where their preparation is second to none in college baseball. I have a heightened awareness of a guy. They're not just sitting in the dugout anymore because the coaches, their brain, they've taken their brain back over. They're watching those 3 at-bats because they might be in the ball game recently. And I'm getting the conviction and ownership that I've come to love and appreciate by doing it this way. That's probably – there's other things. There's a list of 10 or 12 things that happen when you turn things around over a calendar year or something. But to me, you asked me what's the one biggest thing that happened. We got back to teaching them how, but allowing them to run their own show.
And I, as an old pitcher, I'm just curious. Sorry to step on anyone there, but that's so important to take ownership. I feel like I'm a parent, right? I'm not trying to say let's take ownership for our faults. Like I'm just saying taking ownership for your game, right? Especially if you're a starter, you go out there and you got to care about the full game, the complete game, and the other guys coming in and out. But staying, paying attention in the bullpen, paying attention to what's going on, all that stuff matters so much to stay engaged. That's cool to hear you say you're old school like that. Let guys call their own game is a big deal. I want people to understand how cool that is. I think that's the neatest thing, but it's also the scariest thing you could ever think of in your life because I'm out there making, quarter with or making change with the quarter out there. It'd be pretty scary, but that's real neat. And obviously it makes a difference.
Yeah, it does. And hey, I've been on my own journey as a pitching coach through all these years. I got about 10 years into it. I was doing the interview before you guys, and this came up, and I just I called pitches because I was trying to make a name for myself, provide for my family, and win ball games.
Yeah.
And now we don't call. We allow the pitchers to call their own game because I'm trying to provide for my family. I'm trying to win ball games for the same exact reasons.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day and really getting to that point and seeing it, I thought our stuff went to another level. And last year was a crossroads for me, understanding how important analytics is. It's not going away. I want to stay current. I want to be like Clint Hurdle. I don't care about old school, new school. I want to stay in school. And that's what's important at the end of the day. In adapting, Everett Tieford brings so much to me with this new innovations and stuff. And I can ask a question because I don't like that stuff. I will stay in my space. I just have to have people around me that absolutely are experts to be able to give me the answers to the questions that I have. And that is amazing having him here with me. But I think, if he was right here sitting beside me, he would say, man, I've learned some things about how to grow a person the most. They can't pass the buck. They absolutely can take ownership. So when we have a pitcher catcher meeting, they have their own computers. We sit there in silence for 30 minutes sometimes, and these guys have to do this on their own, but they have the computers open. They have all this technology. And then when we rally and have our briefing, they're telling us how to get the guys out. And not with just everybody blanket in the room, because some guys are lower slot left-handers. Some guys are overhand breaking balls from the right side, how they get them out specifically to who they are. And it's individualized things, and it's taking things to another level. And, I don't know what's going to happen this weekend, but the Auburn Tiger pitching staff's going to be prepared.
Yeah.
And there's some confidence associated with that.
Do you all use any? I'm sure you do. How much is AI playing into your game planning with these guys? I mean, we're about to launch a podcast called AI in Sports. You guys, I'm sure you got baseball's perfect for it.
We are. We're what's neat, hopefully, is I have some old school stuff in me, but we do have Kenetracks. We're one of about 5 schools in college baseball that has it on the actual field.
Can you explain what that is, Coach?
Yeah, it's 8 cameras pointing toward home plate. It's 8 cameras pointing toward the mound, and it gives you about 32 metrics on every pitch. And it's incredible.
Wow.
Of course, it's shared with Major League Baseball, so every pitch put in play is amazing. I don't have a stopwatch anymore. We have another program that has a Doppler grid of our whole ballpark. And so I can look at the end of the game and see if somebody really run home hard to first from home to first. It gives me every calculated time. We don't even have the stopwatch anymore.
Well, we're going to get biometric readout soon. I mean, that's coming. So.
We are. And, center field, I was sitting here at the beginning of the spring. I'm like, which one of these center fielders really are better defensively? And Chris, to your point, you're talking about defenses and getting a glimpse. Now going back and looking at every ball put in play, there's a video tagged with that particular play, and it gives me, we award a guy about every 2 or 3 weeks, whoever ran over 20 miles per hour, either first to third or in an outfield for a ball. We get their running speed as well. When a guy gets over 20 miles per hour, we can give out an award, but we get efficiency of route. These things that we never thought about that we are using to kind of decipher, because it was a hunch for a coach in the past.
Not anymore.
These are answering our questions. And to your point on AI, you'll see it. We position maybe not more than others, but when you talk about AI, what really scared me first with that is I always like to see what's happened, and then we move our pieces. Now we're talking about predictive
and learning, Coach. Predictive and learning as you go.
When I heard that word, I'm like, get out of my face, get out of the room. I don't want to hear it. Slowly, you start deciphering and understand how they come up with predicting the future on a player or positioning or et cetera, and it's here to stay, boys.
Well,
Chris,
we're months away from generative AI, and I'll say, fine. We're Auburn University is one of the leading
Yeah.
places, not just schools, leading places in the United States where this technology is being developed.
And we have engineering students, senior level, that have done projects with our program. So that'll be 2025 of those kids coming over. Just amazing. I see the future bright. You know, people that are not with these college kids and don't hear them talk or see what they do. I don't know what you say, but when you're in the room with these players, an SEC team, with these engineering students and everything going on campus, these kids are absolutely so impressive.
It is. Chris, jump back in here. And I was going to say, our intern, Oakley McFerrin, I want him to come over and meet with you. And he went to MBA. And you talk about these freshmen. This is an amazing young man, what he's doing for us behind the scenes and all. But I'm an optimist, man. And I love what you just said. That, Brendan, incredible line of questions. That was like a court case about to put some guy away for 100 years. But Chris, jump in here. That was great.
Yeah, I have two quick unrelated ones. One back to the AI. Like, just give me some stories about when you use that, because I think, like, probably a lot of things that you see confirm your intuition as a coach. Like, okay, I always knew this was a thing, but I couldn't prove it, and now I got the data. And the other hand was like, wow, I've been, was there a moment where, like, I've been thinking this for years, and there's enough data to show me, like, I was really wrong about that. Just give me the stories that pop for you either way, like those aha moments when you used AI. I mean, you may not want to give away the state secrets, and I get that, but I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, and somebody listening that would be adversarial to what I'm saying of, want me to hold the line the other way, is I did have the first TrackMan as a pitching coach in college baseball. TrackMan gifted 8 TrackMan technologies and put it in the ballpark in 2012. I was a pitching coach at Mississippi State at that time, and we were one of 8. I can't remember. It was Arkansas, UCLA. They just went and spread it out in the country to start this data flow, if you will. And I had some amazing guys. Kendall Graveman still pitching in the big leagues. Jonathan Holder was a big leaguer. I just used those couple examples because I didn't know what was going on with this stuff.
Yeah.
But I knew Jonathan Holder had more. He had 13 inches of vertical break on a breaking ball, and that was more than anybody in America. So I said, well, that's probably pretty good. And we, it was a 91, 92 fastball. And so with that vertical break, that's where we started stacking, the vertical stacking, and it happened naturally. And he had good spin to the ball, even though it was only 91. So we started throwing it up in the zone. And it tunneled and shared space with that breaking ball. And, there you go. That's the SEC all-time saves leader, or tied for it, I think, at like 39 or 40, just off of that, just 2 pitches.
Wow.
And figuring that out. Kendall Graveman was on that same staff, and every time he threw it up in the zone, he got blasted. And, old school, I'm like, why is it every time he goes up in the zone and gets blasted, and Holder it don't? And it's just that spin. TrackMan finally gave us some validity of us just asking questions, not really I didn't have the biomechanical brain. I just, like, common sense, maybe the coon tail in me, if you will, Rob, coming out.
Yeah.
And I said, Kendall, quit climbing the ladder. Quit going up there. You have sink and you have pronation, man. You absolutely, okay, quit going up there. Let's be the best sinker ball pitcher in America, because he's 1900, spin. And when I showed him that, he's like, okay. So he went to be the best sinker ball pitcher, but you didn't make everybody like the British Redcoat Army, where they're all marching in formation and the same deal. You made everybody their own individual recipe. And that was an aha moment from the technology where I knew it can be a piece. The other thing is, if anybody's going to be confused, it needs to be the coach. It does not need to be the player. So we have to strain this, and we have to get it down to the simplest form to get to a player, because all of us play our greatest sport. When you're 9 for 10, you're not thinking about a whole lot. When you're 1 for 30, you're thinking too much, et cetera. If you're a pitcher, you're a hitter, or whatever. So all the confusing stages of all this stuff, it needs to be filtered by somebody claiming to be a coach. And then the simplest form, or the adjustments, or the things to try, needs to be like little small increments for them to be able to handle with everything else they have going on. So I still think that's a premise and a pillar that lasts forever, because what you can do is have all this technology and overwhelm somebody and put them in the deep end in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That will not work. This stuff has to be filtered, and we have to figure out, how does this help us now? But then bring the players in the room. Then this is what we see with you. What do you think? What can you commit to? These are a couple of strategies and how we should attack this. And give them a say, because they want to know why, and they want to absolutely. I want them to own it. I think the mark of a coach is not what a coach knows. I think the mark of a coach is what they know by the time they leave you.
Yeah.
And that's back to the ownership thing that you said a while ago. So those are, everybody can have technology, everybody can have coach, and everybody can have players. But I still think there's some the way you implement, the way you decipher, and the way you execute this to make a difference. Because there's a lot of smart people everywhere. There's a lot of good coaches everywhere. There's a lot of good players everywhere. But the processes which you go through, I think, can make the difference as well.
Yeah.
The second one I had, you have a remarkable freshman class, and we knew it was talented coming in. But, man, it's hard as a freshman. Like, Charlie Condon and Wyatt Langford were complete non-factors as freshmen. I look at your freshman, you're having one of the more incredible freshman class seasons that I've ever seen. Chatterton, I mean, all your hitters, Rimbert. How do you do that? Because, I mean, and it's not just that it's hard as a freshman, but, like, it's older the game is than it's ever been. You got 24 and 25-year-olds. Like, it would seem to me like if there's ever a time where that's harder to do, it's now. And I don't know that I ever remember a freshman class collectively having a better year than yours is. How have you made that happen?
Took a risk. Run your own show, which we've already talked about with our pitchers. I'm trying to win against Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Florida. I mean, I can name every school in our league, and I'm trying to win. And you go portal, and you got to get good quick because you're last in the league. And I'm like, these are great players that wanted to come to Auburn that chose us. You know, a couple of them, Terrell, Fralick, they go in the draft. They went in the major league draft and still came to school because I made a commitment to them. And I thought it was pretty risky to go like, I'm going to commit to this freshman class coming off of last season. And, man, they have absolutely paid dividends. And I feel like I went and dropped my purple worm in some water where everybody wasn't fishing last year. And I took a risk to try to help our program get back. And so now I'm committed to Chris Rimbert for 3 years. I'm committed to these guys for 3 years, Chatterton and Alvarez threw a one-hitter for 5 innings Tuesday night against a good Jacksonville State team, et cetera. And we had the number 3 recruiting class in America because of those freshmen. And, you know, I think 7 or 8 are really contributing. 5 or 6 hadn't got on the road, but I feel like I got a whole nother recruiting class of guys that didn't get on the field, but we've worked with and we developed. And you got a guy like Connor Gatwood from Mobile, Alabama, throws 100 miles per hour that didn't even see the field this year that I think are going to pay huge dividends. And I think last year's class of trusting and bringing in freshmen is absolutely going to pay huge dividends. And I don't even think our fans have seen the full impact of what that class is going to do. They're seeing some shiny pieces that absolutely have played ball, but I think there's more. And I'm thankful of that account because that was a risky move to try to go do some of that. But I believed in that class so much that Carl Nunemaker and Gabe Gross and Everett Tiefert had worked hard to bring together for us. And I said, you know, but it got to me and they're like, what do we do? Do we let them out of their agreement and let them go somewhere else? And we got to go get old players. And I'm like, nope, these are our guys. We're bringing them, and it's paid off.
Yeah, Coach, absolutely great stuff. And I like that saying, ambition without action turns into anxiety. And I'm going to get a T-shirt of Butchisms, okay? One of them is when you're walking to the plate, don't let the moment be too big. Another Butch saying is too often in society, it's not because, you know, we're aiming too high and missing. It's because we're aiming too low and connecting. And this is just this great stuff. And thank you for going along with us. I know you're in Oxford. I'll let you know, I'm going to try to come by there for the game tomorrow night at 7. Love to see you. I know you're going to be busy in Oxford. You'll have some spare time during the day, but this just makes us Hoover next week. The last weekend's going to be as big as any, but how do people follow you and want to do this again soon? And as always, appreciate and value every minute you're on with us.
Yeah, the easiest way to connect with me is just email butchthompson@auburn.edu. And like always, I promise to respond within the next 6 months or so. And then,
I'm thinking, Rob, this guy does not want people to contact him. You understand? He doesn't want the attention, Rob. He doesn't want
unless they've got a big check.
Coach now.
Yeah, I'll take the big check. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. 857, what is it? 867-5309. Please.
Yeah,
that's your phone number.
867-5309.
Or hee-haw, right?
That's right.
BR549.
BR549. All right. Well, Coach, good luck over there in Oxford. You're in your home state, and we'll talk to you here again very soon.
Yeah. You guys have a great day. Thank you for the time.
You bet.
Good luck, Coach. Thank you.
That was some of the most revealing stuff. We just have a couple of minutes before we check out, but Chris, got to pair you up with him again, man. I mean, you are, and we got a young guy that's been with us for a long time, Mitch Davis over in New Albany, that's covers baseball, and he's going to come on. He's going to be in Hoover all next week, coming on with us. But that was a powerful conversation on baseball. And Chris, before you go, let people closing comments and let people know how they can follow you, because you are putting out a ton of content.
Yeah. Look, I don't know Butch Thompson that well. I've been on with him 3 times, but they're people you just connect with. You can see why people love them. I mean, I know several people that know him. Everybody speaks well of him. For a guy to come on and give you the time that he did is one thing. To do it at this point of the season is another. That tells you a lot about him. We've got stuff coming up. We're covering baseball in the SEC just about 7 days a week. It's 6, and sometimes it's twice a day. We're going to give predictions for this weekend on the YouTube channel at Southeastern 16. We'll do reactions to games tonight, Friday, and Saturday after the games, live or as they're ending. So check us out there at Southeastern 16.
Chris, again, thank you. Let's do it again next week.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Let's say something about winter timbers, folks. Turkey season's wrapping up, but never too early to get started on your deer plots, your food plots for next hunting season. The outdoor life, hunting, fishing, they got everything that you need. Athens, Alabama, growing all over the footprint of the SEC. The next store to open will be late July on University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. Winter Timber Outdoors. Take a picture of that QR code and shop there. Tell them you heard about them on Sidelines. Also, the great folks at Landers Ford, Memphis.com, where Collierville and Memphis come together. They're open every day of the week except Sunday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Service department will pick you up, take you around for round-trip transportation. Look, the 25 expeditions are in. Ford employee pricing. They're giving a lot of opportunities for you to save big on purchasing a new car, truck, or SUV. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Don't worry about tariffs.
Off. $500 off.
Yeah, $500 off. And if you're worried about tariffs, they give you employee pricing. So they're right down the street from another great sponsor, Hewlett and Dunn Boot Clothing
Tomorrow
Company.
we're going to talk about the boots.
Brendan got his boots, and it's listen, man, check these folks out. Take a picture of that QR code. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. on the historic square, Collierville, Tennessee. Great people. They got Barber, Filson, Duckhead, Stetson, STS, Filson Luggage. They've got Old South, Devil Dog Jeans, Anderson Bean Boots, Olathe. Brendan got him a pair of Feral Sow Wild Boar boots. We're going to show them tomorrow.
Nice.
But again, hey, we can't all do everything, as Mother Teresa said, but we can all do something. And most often we see the face of Christ raised among us. Everybody, thanks for watching and sharing the show. We'll be broadcasting again in the morning from Birmingham.
Is that where you are?
The show. And today at 5 Eastern, we got Terry Bowden on the show. Going to talk about his career. That's going to be a fun one. So tune in. Watch.
Yeah, Terry Bowden. What time again, Robinson?
5 p.m. Eastern today.
5 p.m. Eastern today. All right, you guys, check it out. It's going to be awesome. All right. Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy. See y'all in a bit.
All right. I'll see you in like 5 seconds.
Bye.